Welcome back, Phil.
Thank you, Pete.
Now we're back onto another exciting episode of the Antarctic expeditions. Now, this episode covers a limited trip that you guys did with the dog teams to a unknown little location called Rumdoodle.
Doodle is right.
Rumdoodle, right, Rumdoodle. So, I understand that this is when you were basically within the first couple of weeks of actually being in Antarctica. So, a trip was offered to you. You were thrilled. It involved the dogs, going out on the sleds, going to some strange little location. Wow. Well, you set up for a hard day's night, weren't you?
Yeah, that song was quite a new one.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's right.
Anyway, yes, I was. We'd been there about a month, and the previous ionospheric physicist, whose name was Ian McIntosh, wanted to go out for a final dog trip.
You can see the greatness of that, because it's the middle of summer. You know, get out with the dogs one last time, bond with them. You know, into the wild.
Yes, but there was one catch.
Okay, nobody else wanted to go with him.
Well, I don't know if anyone else did, but he asked Neil MacDonald, the new COSRAE physicist, and myself, the geophysicist.
Were you the first to be asked, or were you sort of last on the list?
Oh, I don't know. This is getting back a bit.
Right, okay, sorry about that.
You know. Anyway,
Okay.
I said yes. I would be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Now, we couldn't go out on the sea ice, which is what you normally did with the dogs, because it was January.
Mm-hmm.
And the sea ice was thin and broken up and very treacherous. There's no way you'd go out on it.
Yeah.
There was another alternative. We would go inland, up on the Antarctic plateau. And Neil and I didn't know any better. We thought, yep, that's a good idea.
Yep.
I don't know if Ian was wise to this one. He's probably never taken the dogs up on the plateau himself.
So just before you go, you've been there a month. So have you done any training with the dogs? Do you know how to handle the dogs? They don't just sort of yes sir, no sir.
No, sir, they do not. And as for the training we had, that was about none.
No training at all.
None at all.
This is a complex system of animals, human interaction, and that's okay. They know what they're doing.
That's about it.
Wow. It's a lot of confidence there with you guys just lashing up the dogs. Okay, so let's go through the process. So what day were you thinking about leaving?
Well, in a few days, I've had to first train up someone to change my records. That had to be done every day.
ABBA, Bay City Rollers. No, they weren't around then. AC/DC?
Were they around then?
AC/DC.
Yeah, they would have been around then.
Yeah.
Mid-70s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you changed the records, so the vinyl.
Yeah, well, these were close to that. They were actually seismic records and geomagnetic records.
Right, okay. And how did so just to decide, what would they look like? Are this like a piece of paper? You know, one of those magnet, whatever they, you know, as they...
Great big sheets of photographic paper.
Right, and they just scrolls on it.
Yeah, or traces on them.
You'd have a lot of those things in storage at the base.
Oh, we had all the equipment. I had my own private little dark room, whole stack of all the chemicals we need and all the photographic paper we need, heaps of it all.
Yeah.
So that we could do all that. Not a problem.
So I'm just thinking about the drums. The drums about this big for making the...
Something like that.
And you'd have to store them.
This big would be about 1.5 foot round, that sort of.
And they would last how long?
Day.
A
The record
day?
was, each record for both the seismic and geomagnetic was 1 day.
So realistically, that's a lot of lot of space needed to store that sort of stuff.
Oh, we had great big containers that after we took the records off, developed them, dried them, analysed them, we'd then put them in containers, and it was all right. Didn't take too much space.
Okay, because it sounds like a massive operation just to keep that thing going. So what do you mean develop it? I thought you were just scribbling on with a pen. Is it scribbling on?
No. The light trace does the scribble.
Yeah. Oh, you've got to develop the light trace.
Yes.
Okay,
There's
sorry.
a light trace on photographic paper.
Okay.
That's how we got it.
Right, okay. Just,
We digress.
sorry, yeah, I just wanted to know, because it's like, you talk about all this stuff, blah, 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 but people nowadays, we have no idea what sort of equipment you're using. It's very basic.
I'll do a podcast on that at some stage.
He says that now, but he'll get bored and won't do it. Anyway, we continue. So you said it was some day of the week you're getting yourself ready. You've trained up your techo to help you change your records.
Yes.
So you can have a day off, a couple of days off.
Right.
And now what? We're up to that.
Now, we decided, right, we're going to pack that sled up. And we took many hours on that. You've got to, and each person's got to know where everything is in case things go wrong.
Yeah.
So we packed up all the sled, had it all right. This was on a Wednesday afternoon, we got it all right. Because on the following Thursday, we're off.
What sort of time were you going to be leaving?
Oh, it was very early in the morning. We're probably, I don't know, probably about 8 o'clock in the morning or something.
So it's full
like that.
daylight now by that time, isn't it? Because
it's daylight most of the time at this time of the year, anyway.
Just as a side on that one, I was thinking, what do you do when you are having to sleep? Do you literally have to set the clock saying, okay, it's 10 o'clock, I need to sleep now for 6 hours, 8 hours? You put your little blinds on so you can get some sleep because the sun is still up.
Some people did do those sorts of things. Some people had a lot of trouble with insomnia when you had 24-hour daylight or close to.
Yeah.
And the worst thing you could do was wake someone up when they're asleep.
Yeah, because they've only had a certain period of time. So what did you do?
Well, in my case, because I had daily record changes and the same time every day, I had to get up and do those record changes. That kept my internal clock regulated.
Yeah.
So I didn't have those sort of problems.
Yeah. So we're ready to go.
We are ready to go. We got up.
Sled.
Got the sled.
Heavy sled now. We're talking
They're pretty heavy by now.
Yep.
But we didn't just saddle the dogs up and the dog line the way you normally would.
Oh, well, I don't know what they normally would. What does that mean?
Normally.
I thought you got a piece of string and they're all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dogs all in a fan.
Normally you would take the sled down to the sea ice, which isn't far away from the dog line.
Yeah.
Then you take the dogs down there and you'd saddle them up. And when that's all done, off you go. This time, going inland,
right,
it's very steep, and also around Mawson there was a lot of crevices, so you had to be careful about them. You couldn't the dogs wouldn't be able to pull you up that first mile.
so you're going to lead the dogs up.
That's what we had to do.
Right. So that's the dogs go, what's going on? What's going on?
They were probably a little confused there.
Go,
we don't normally do it this way.
Yeah.
So we towed the sleds up with, and I might say at this stage, we used 2 teams of 8 dogs each.
How many dogs are there in the group? So you say 16 dogs you're using?
Yeah. There was a few others, I can't remember. A couple of bitches.
Excuse me, poor fellow.
Oh, you're right. That's the proper term we use.
Yes, I know. So you basically took the whole dog team.
Most of the dogs went.
So you've taken them up the hill with the sleds.
Yeah, the sleds were taken up.
Were they dragged up by the bulldozer?
The sleds?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just towed up with not bulldozers. We didn't use them.
Didn't you?
We had skidoos and snow tracks and small vehicles.
Okay, so you just drag them up there, take the dogs up.
And about a mile inland, the ice was somewhat flatter. There.
So you had a staging post. You sort of staged it up.
Yes.
And then dogs came up, click them on, and away we go! Yay! No.
Yes.
Oh, okay, you did. All right.
We actually had probably half the base was up there to see us off.
Yeah, it sounds a bit ominous. Bye, boys. Yeah.
So we had it all saddled up, ready to go. Everybody's
did
cameras
you see
out.
any money passing hands? So they won't be back in 2 weeks.
Well, if you had money down there, yeah, we would have, but we did.
Bet on it.
And off we went. Terrific.
Did you have some music in the background? No,
but we might put it in on it.
Yeah, just sort of, off into the wild blues. Mush. Oh, sorry, that's what I was going to ask you. What commands did you have to teach the dogs? Did you have to teach yourself in order to get the dogs to go forward, to stop, left and right? Was there any such command?
Okay, we had lead dogs who would respond to go, which we use the word mush.
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 That's the real traditional word from...
I know it is.
From the Canadian...
And it was a good one because it's a single syllable, very easily recognisable word.
Yeah.
And when you want them to stop, you yell, whoa.
Whoa.
Now, occasionally you might make the mistake of saying, you go, ready boys, and they're up. And then, go.
And they go,
and they thought you said, whoa. They just sit there.
They're going,
And then you, oh, hang on, mush. And then they go.
take off. That'd be a really good graphic for you to go.
You could do that.
So away you went.
Away we went in great triumph. That would be for about 100 yards or metres.
So the main guy who knows the place, he's leading the way. You and your mate are behind.
Yeah, one on each team.
Right. So there's only 3 of you, yeah?
Yep.
And away he blasts off. He knows what he's doing. He knows the dogs, and dogs know him. And
Yes.
you take off. Oh, this is going really good until 100 yards later you're going, oopsie.
They indulge in their favourite pastime, and you know what that is.
Licking each other's bottoms?
Not in this case.
Okay
no.
then, sorry.
No, it's something they like even more.
Eating. Fighting. Oh, yes. The great dog fights.
Great dog fights. And they indulged in their very first one. And their leads all got tangled. It's a hopeless mess. Some of the guys that were up there with their cameras cheering us
Fell
off.
over backwards and laughed again. So,
Yeah, when they recovered from their laughter, they were up helping us untangle, and we got it all sorted out. And off we
So
went.
dogs are having a fight, and you got to get in there and stop them from fighting. In the
Yeah.
meantime, they're rolling over themselves and making an absolute
Mess.
cat's cradle.
Yeah.
And then you get them apart.
Yeah, sometimes you had to actually detach them from the sled to untangle the leads.
Did they injure themselves? They really?
No.
They're just nipping and being nasty, like
Yeah.
calling each other names.
Something
And
like
then
that. If they nip and draw blood, we never saw it because their fur was so thick.
Yeah. Okay.
Off we went. We got it all sorted. And we probably got about 200 yards the next time. And guess what?
Another fight?
Another fight.
Oh man, what's going on?
This will repeat itself, and we would have killed the dogs, except we weren't supposed to do that.
My understanding of reading the notes is you felt that the dogs were doing this on purpose.
They were.
They were just testing you out to see how strong you are and to see who's dominant, and they say, well, let's see what the new boys can do, because they obviously understood that you were newies.
They knew we were newies.
Because you could hear by the way you said, mush. You didn't have the mush. You know?
They just didn't know you, and they weren't going to obey you without a great struggle.
Yeah.
And you could see the expressions on their faces, this mischievous glint in their eye. They knew exactly what they were doing.
So you forget that we're dealing with a creature that actually got some smarts. They know what's what.
Yes.
They do understand things.
One of the problems, of course, was dogs naturally form
Packs.
packs with class structures,
Yeah.
and they choose their own leaders. But when the humans come in, they choose a leader for them. This can create problems.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you really sort of start to step back and go, wow, this is really complicated stuff. It's not just dog man. There's intricacies within the community,
Oh, yes.
in the things. There's hierarchies. No, I want to be the boss, and I'm going to be the boss. And if you don't make me the boss, I think you also read that prior to Lars, your dog trainer, coming, they had a real issue with the dogs. There was no proper hierarchy established.
They hadn't trained the dogs to be able to follow commands other than mush and whoa.
Mm.
So if you said left or right, they wouldn't respond. They didn't know it.
Yeah.
That's why you had to have up for many, many years previous, they always had to have a human leading them.
Oh, so he would guide them where they're going.
Yes.
Okay.
That was the way they did it. And it wasn't till some months later when Lars had got hold of the dogs and trained them properly that we could then use them without a person leading them. First time, might be the first time ever they were able to do that down at Mawson.
Because it's a real physical thing to be in front of a dog team, running or whatever you're doing. Skiing.
Yeah.
Are you skiing or ski shoes? That's snowshoes?
Yes, they use snowshoes or cross-country skis.
Because you've got to be damn fit.
Very fit.
You've got to be able to run for a couple of an hour.
Very, very fit.
And the dogs are sitting there going, you call that running?
Exactly. That's how it was.
So it must be almost putting them at, we want to go faster.
Apart from this trip, I didn't have experience of that, thankfully. We had lead dogs that would lead.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, but not on this trip.
Okay.
But they were in unfamiliar territory as well.
So give us a couple of names of some of the dogs.
There was, let's see, Circlip, a Rumdoodle or something, One called Buenos Aires, would you believe?
Oh, Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires. One called Nemeluk. He was the one that was taken back to Adelaide Zoo sometime later. There's another one called Dan, who became the lead dog when we were all trained. And Norma Husky, was the other lead dog, which is very unusual to have a female as a lead dog, but it worked best. She was one of the smartest of the dogs, and also the mother and grandmother and great-grandmother.
All right, so we have now reached the 300-metre mark from the base, and we've had another fight, and we've undertangled it all.
Yes.
And apparently you said that they can get to a point where they're strangling themselves. So they're having a go at you, saying, ha, 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 you done what you... Now, just as an aside, was the other team fighting all the time too?
Yes, they had the same problem.
Oh, so it wasn't just you guys?
No.
Oh, that's all right. I was thinking they're just doing it for you. Whereas the well-established guy who knows the dogs well, he's having the same kind of problems.
Yeah, well, he's out front leading, at least when we started.
Yeah.
We did rotate around. We did get to the point where they got sick of fighting, and they went.
And I suppose that's that when you realise, it's all working, it's humming. I forgot to ask you, how far away was the hut?
Oh, it's about 12 miles.
12 miles, so not far.
But it was far when you're on a dog team.
That wouldn't
in
go.
less than ideal conditions. Oh, it was far.
We're not even talking about the conditions of the terrain yet. We're just talking about the dogs being a pain in the ass.
You just come in, just had to raise the whip, which you didn't actually use it as a whip, whiplash type thing. If you're going to hit them at all, you just hit them not that hard with a loop and on the shoulders of the
Really?
dogs.
There's dogs fighting
But
full on?
Normally you'd come up with a whip and they'd fall over and pretend they're in pain. You hadn't even touched them.
Even when they've been fighting, like full on fighting. They go,
Oh, they were great actors.
So you have to untangle them, put them all back in line, and then go, mush.
And off we went. And eventually they went and they kept going.
So, Phil, we're on the way to this funny little hut called Rumdoodle. And I understand that you had a bit of an accident.
We had one dog, his name was Fine Cut. And this particular dog loved to create problems. You'd see he'd look around with a glint in his eye and a grin, and then he'd start weaving in and out.
Of his, are we talking about a fan effect? 1, 2, 3?
We had
the lead dog. This is the lead dog.
Actually, it wasn't a fan at that stage. That was later under Lars. This one was a central
1, 2,
line
3
with the dog leads in pairs branching off from it, which is another style.
Yeah.
Well, Fine Cut just weaved in and out, and of course, as soon as he started doing it, a few of the other dogs thought, "Oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that.
That's fun.
too."
Let's do that.
So we're going along, and the other team was a fair distance from it at this stage. And they had been doing this, and of course, there they are, all madly tangled, and they decided they were having a fight.
So while they were tangled, they're having a fight.
Oh, they'll fight at any time.
So do you have to stop the sled?
I had to stop the sled.
How do you stop the sled?
There's a brake at the back.
Well, what's a brake? Is it like
the brake was just a bit of wood coming out the back of the sled.
Yeah.
And it had, I forget, some sort of spiky thing underneath. And you'd stand on this thing, put all your weight on it, and dig into the snow.
So that's sort of, okay. Yeah. So that's off the back of the sled.
Yeah, it was very simple.
Yeah.
Simple
You don't just throw an anchor off the back and hope to God it holds on.
Hadn't thought of that.
Some of that, yeah.
Anyway, that's how we brake.
Right.
And when they felt that tension, of course, they would stop.
Mm.
But this time they were fighting. I was furious.
Yeah.
No. Grabbed the whip, went up. I thought, I'll got this under control. Instead, I tripped on the leads. Down
okay. Jeez, in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it. The dogs paid no attention to me and kept fighting on top of me.
That's kind of scary, isn't it? It's like, oh my God. The sound effect would have been absolutely extraordinary.
Oh, yeah. I thought,
smelly, fangy, frothing at the mouth.
Dog saliva all over me.
Yeah.
I thought, this is not good. Scrambled up, went down again. That happened a couple of times because it was just chaos. Eventually, I got to my feet. And I laid in the way that you have to.
Well, that's one of those training things. You can't belt them in the face or something like that.
No,
You hit them. Where do you see it in the back of the
shoulders and hips?
And hips and the
nowhere else.
Yeah. Because that would take a lot of training, a lot of sense for you. You're in a very difficult situation. You've just been pummeled by these dogs twice. Not hurt, but you're so angry, you're just going to hit them with anything. And you say, no, I've got to hit them right here and right here.
That's exactly right. You still had to be in good control all the time. Because you didn't want to actually hurt the dogs.
No. Yeah. Unless you had to kill them for food. Yeah. Which is what they used to do in the old days.
Yeah. So that was a little venture.
So was the terrain going up, or was it fairly flat?
It was going up very slightly by this point.
So it was actually quite nice running then, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, we were going well once we got them settled. Hardly had any fights, probably a couple more, but not many. Mm. And we travelled through, finally got to Rumdoodle. I think it was about 6 o'clock at night, something like that. So you started
at about 8 and you got there at 6?
Well, we started from base at 8. By the time we actually took off, it was around midday.
Okay. So where's Rumdoodle? So Rumdoodle's, didn't you say it was...
Pretty much south of Mawson.
What does it look like? Is it a wooden cottage? Is it sort of like, something out of Hansel and Gretel?
Yeah, close. It was at the base of a mountain. The mountain was called Rumdoodle Peak, which is part of the Mawson Ranges, which are just inland a bit from Mawson. Mm. And Rumdoodle Peak was a particularly nice looking peak. The hut, called Rumdoodle Hut, was right at the base on the edge of Rumdoodle Peak, on a little flattish area on the rocks at the base where it had been put there many, many years before. Guy wired down to keep it in place. I never did tell you why it was called Rumdoodle.
No, it sounds Rumdoodle, run on a wee.
Jeez. No, it was named, some wag many years ago knew of this as a comic novel called Rumdoodle something or other, which is up in the Baltics or somewhere. They thought, this is a nice name. We're going to call that mountain Rumdoodle, and the hut will be Rumdoodle Hut.
Is it actually on the map saying Rumdoodle Mountain?
Yeah. You get onto Google Earth and put in Rumdoodle, Antarctica, and it'll take you there.
Isn't that the mountain?
Rumdoodle is the name of the mountain peak.
Yep.
That's in the Mawson Ranges where there's a lot of mountains.
Yep. And
the hut, called Rumdoodle Hut, was at the base of Rumdoodle Peak.
Is it still there in 2022?
It's still there. It's been updated. It's not the one that we went to. I think they put something slightly flashier there. Yeah.
And what was it there for?
Recreation.
So it was like a recreational hut. You go there away for the weekend.
Yeah.
And just get away from the base.
Yeah.
But did they have any more, or was that just they had a couple?
One or two others. One really well-known one was on a place called Macy Island, which was, you'd always stay there if you're going to Oster Penguin Rookery. Mm-hmm. And that was on an island. This one's inland. So. Okay. So you've got this great mountain behind you. Is it covered in snow, or is it windswept, or what is it? What's it feel like? Very little snow on it.
Okay.
The mountains in the Antarctic are different to anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
They're bare on the top, snow covered at the base. Ask me why.
Okay, why?
Reason is, the snow down there is so dry it's like dust, so it just doesn't settle on anything hard like rocks. Mm. Except at the base where it just piles up.
But it's also the fact that the mountains are black. But they do absorb a lot more heat than the reflectiveness of the snow.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so they are warmer.
But in winter, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing sticks to them. Perhaps in summer, you might get a bit more snow sticking to them. But the wind is so strong, it probably gets just blasted off anyway.
Yeah. Right. From your notes, you said that there was a bit of a problem getting to the actual hut. You have to be very careful in a certain area.
We got to the hut was inside, so at last we're there.
Yeehaw!
Except for the last hurdle, right in front of that lake, between us and the lake, the hut.
And the lake, yep, was a lake.
There was a lake.
Right, yep.
There's a lake in front of the hut.
Right.
And we had to cross that lake to get to the hut.
But it's frozen solid. There's no drums, is it? It's icy cold down there. It's not water, is it?
It's water.
With ice on the top.
Ice on the top.
Right, yeah.
Relatively thin ice.
When you say relative, what does that mean? Because we're talking about Antarctica, where we talk about hundreds of feet deep.
Yeah, well, we're probably talking so many inches. I'm not sure.
Wow.
How many.